I died watching my best friend hand over his kidney to the girl who would kill him. That's the moment everything went black. Not from death itself, but from the crushing realization that I had failed. Again. I had screamed, begged, threatened, and pleaded, but David walked into that operating room anyway, smiling like he was some kind of hero. All for her. All for Amber Lou, the cancer beauty who had wrapped our entire senior class around her delicate, lying fingers. Let me go back to where it all started, or rather, where it all ended the first time. 3 months before my death, Amber transferred to our university with a sob story that could melt stone. Stage 3 lymphoma, aggressive treatment, hair falling out in clumps. She wore silk scarves and soft beanies, and when she smiled through the pain, grown men wept. Our professors gave her extensions. Our classmates started a fundraiser. Within 2 weeks, she had raised $40,000. I was the only one who noticed the designer handbag she carried cost $15,000 alone. "Chloe, you're being paranoid," my roommate Jessica said when I pointed it out. "Maybe it was a gift from before she got sick." And the Cartier bracelet. And the fact that I saw her eating a full steak dinner at Morton's last week when she told Professor William she couldn't keep food down. Jessica's face hardened. "You sound jealous. Is this because Tyler's been spending time with her?" Tyler, my boyfriend of 2 years, the man I thought I'd marry. That was the first crack in my world. Tyler had indeed been spending time with Amber. "She needs support," he told me when I confronted him. "She's dying, Chloe. Have a heart." But I had seen them. At the coffee shop, his hand covering hers. At the library, their heads bent close together. And finally, at his apartment, when I showed up unannounced with his favourite takeout and found her scarf on his couch. "It's not what you think," he said, blocking the bedroom door. "Then what is it?" "She had a breakdown. Her treatment was rough today. She needed somewhere to rest." "In your bed?" His silence was the answer. I left the takeout on his counter and walked out. When I told Jessica, she didn't believe me. When I told David, my childhood friend, he said I was letting my insecurity ruin Tyler's charity work. When I posted about it in our class group chat, I was removed within minutes, and the next day, someone had spray painted "Heartless" across my car. But I wasn't the heartless one. I was the only one paying attention. Over the next month, I started documenting everything. Amber's social media showed her at clubs, at parties, drinking and dancing. I screenshot every post before she deleted them. I followed her to her chemotherapy appointments and watched her walk past the oncology centre straight into a luxury spa. I recorded it all. Then David came to me, his face pale and determined. "Chloe, I need to tell you something. Amber needs a kidney transplant. She's type AB negative, really rare. I'm a match." My blood turned to ice. "David, no. You can't. I already signed the papers. Surgery's in 2 weeks." "She's lying. She doesn't have cancer. I have proof." He held up his hand. "Stop. Just stop, Chloe. I know you're hurt about Tyler, but this has gone too far. You're literally trying to convince me to let someone die because you're jealous." "I'm not jealous. Look at these photos. Look at the timestamps. Faked. Everyone knows you're good with Photoshop." He stood up to leave. "I thought you were better than this. I really did." That was 3 weeks before my death. I went to the dean. I showed him everything. The photos, the videos, the financial records I'd managed to pull that showed Amber had received cancer fundraising money from 3 different schools over the past 4 years. Dean Morrison looked at me with pity. "Miss Porter, I understand you're going through a difficult breakup, but these accusations are serious. Miss Liu has provided us with complete medical documentation." "Documentation can be forged." "From University Medical Center? Signed by Dr. Raymond Flores, head of oncology." He slid a folder across his desk. "I'm going to strongly suggest you drop this before it becomes a harassment case." I looked at the documents. They were perfect, too perfect. But I had no way to prove it, The surgery was scheduled for a Friday. I spent the days before it trying everything. I called the hospital directly, but they said they couldn't discuss patient information. I reached out to Dr. Flores's office, but his secretary said he was out of the country at a conference. I even contacted Amber's supposed previous schools, but they had no record of her ever attending. Thursday night, I broke into the medical centre's records room. It was stupid, desperate, and illegal, but I had to know the truth. I found Amber's file. Inside were test results, biopsy reports, treatment schedules, everything perfectly documented. But when I looked closer at the dates, my heart stopped. The biopsy report was dated 2 months before she'd even enrolled at our school, before she'd even lived in our state, according to her transfer records. I photographed everything and ran. Friday morning, I showed up at the hospital. David was already in pre-op. I pushed past the nurses, screaming that it was fraud, that she was lying, that he'd die for nothing. Security dragged me out. Tyler was there in the waiting room with Amber. She was crying delicate tears, her hand pressed to her chest where an IV port was visibly embedded under her skin. "I just wanted to live," she whispered. "Why does she hate me so much?" Tyler looked at me with disgust. "You're insane. Stay away from us." 6 hours later, David came out of surgery, weak but smiling. "I saved a life," he told me when I was finally allowed in. "That's what matters." Amber recovered in the room next door, visitors streaming in with flowers and cards. 2 weeks later, David's body started rejecting something. Not the remaining kidney, that was fine. Something else. He developed a fever that wouldn't break, then internal bleeding, then organ failure. The doctors couldn't explain it. The surgery had been routine. The kidney wasn't the problem. Something else had been introduced, something foreign, something deliberate. David died on a Tuesday. At his funeral, Amber sat in the front row, supported by Tyler and Jessica, sobbing beautifully into a lace handkerchief. "He saved my life," she said in her eulogy. "I'll never forget his sacrifice." I stood at the back, numb. I had the proof in my bag, the hospital records, the photographs, everything. But when I tried to speak, to show everyone, I was escorted out again. "Let us grieve in peace," Tyler hissed at me. That night, I went to the police. Detective Harris listened to my story, looked at my evidence, and then closed the folder. "Miss Porter, I understand you've been under stress, but these are serious accusations, and frankly, you have a history of harassment toward Miss Liu. I suggest you speak with a therapist." "She killed him! She killed David, and she's going to kill more—" "Enough." His voice was hard now. "If you continue making these claims without evidence, I'll have to charge you with defamation and harassment. Go home." I went home. I sat in my apartment with all my evidence spread across the floor, and I realised no one would ever believe me. Amber had covered her tracks too well. She had documentation, medical professionals backing her story, and the sympathy of everyone who'd ever met her. I had nothing but the truth, and the truth wasn't enough. The next week, Jessica announced she was donating bone marrow. Amber needs it for her next treatment phase. "I'm a perfect match. It's meant to be." I begged her not to. I showed her everything I'd found. She looked at me with cold eyes and said, "You've become a monster, Chloe. David's death broke something in you. Get help." The bone marrow donation was scheduled for the following month. In the meantime, 3 more classmates signed up as potential organ donors. Amber had launched a social media campaign about her journey, and it had gone viral. She had 500,000 followers watching her brave battle. Corporate sponsors, a book deal. And then Tyler proposed to her, on live stream with 50,000 viewers watching in real time. She said yes through streaming tears, and the internet exploded with joy. I watched it from my laptop, alone in my apartment, and something inside me finally shattered. I had lost everything trying to expose her. My boyfriend, my best friend, my reputation. and she was winning. That night, I received an email with no sender. Inside was a single line: "Stop investigating or you're next." I didn't stop. I found the nurse who'd assisted in David's surgery. It took 3 weeks and half my savings, but I finally got her to meet me at a diner on the edge of town. "I can't talk about this," Nurse Patricia said, her hands shaking around her coffee cup. "Please, my friend died. I need to know why." She looked around, then leaned in close. "The IV bag. During surgery, I saw Dr. Flores add something that wasn't on the surgical plan. When I questioned it, he told me to mind my own business. 3 days later, I was transferred to a different department." "What did he add?" "I don't know, but your friend wasn't the first. 2 years ago, different hospital, there was another donor. Same situation, healthy person goes in, dies 2 weeks later from unexplained complications." "Where was this?" "St. Catherine's in Colorado. The patient they were donating to, her name was Amber Lou." My blood turned to ice. Patricia slid a folder across the table. "I kept copies. The original patient died too, about 6 months after the donor. I always thought it was suspicious, but I had no proof. When I saw Miss Lou's face on the news with your school, I knew she was doing it again." "Why didn't you go to the police?" "I did. They said there wasn't enough evidence. Dr. Flores has powerful connections. He's made this disappear before." I took the folder and left. That night, I compiled everything into a comprehensive report. 2 previous schools, 2 previous cancer battles, 2 previous donors who died under mysterious circumstances, financial records showing hundreds of thousands in donated funds. And now Amber was at our school, and David was dead. I was going to take it to the FBI, to the state medical board, to every news outlet that would listen. I never got the chance. I was walking to my car in the parking garage when someone came up behind me. I turned and saw Dr. Flores. "Miss Porter, you've been very persistent." "Stay away from me," he smiled. "I admire dedication, but you're playing a game you don't understand." "I understand that you're helping a con artist kill people." "Helping?" He laughed. "My dear, I'm not helping her. She's helping me. Organ donation is very lucrative on certain markets. Amber finds the donors. I harvest the organs. We've made millions." Horror washed over me. "You're selling them on the black market to people who need them. It's a service, really. And your classmates are so eager to help." He pulled out a syringe. "Unfortunately, you've become a liability. I tried to run, he caught me. The needle went into my neck and the world tilted." The last thing I saw was Amber stepping out from behind a pillar, her beanie gone, her hair thick and glossy and completely healthy. She smiled. "Bye, Chloe. Thanks for all the publicity. Your accusations only made people sympathise with me more." Then everything went black. Act 2. The struggle. I woke up gasping, my alarm blaring in my ears. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My hands flew to my neck, searching for the needle mark, but my skin was smooth. I looked around wildly, my apartment, my bed, my posters on the wall. My phone said it was September 3rd. 3 months before David's surgery, 4 months before my death. I had gone back. I sat there for 20 minutes, just breathing, trying to process what had happened. Rebirth, time travel, second chance. Whatever it was, I had it. And this time, I would do everything differently. This time, I would save them all. But I couldn't make the same mistakes. Screaming the truth hadn't worked. Showing evidence hadn't worked. Amber and Dr. Flores had spent years perfecting their operation. They had paperwork, they had credentials, they had a system. I needed to dismantle it from the inside. First, I needed allies, people who would believe me before Amber sank her claws in too deep. I started with David. I met him for coffee that afternoon, before Amber had even transferred to our school. "Dave, I need to tell you something, and I need you to trust me." He grinned. "That sounds ominous. What's up?" In a few days, a girl named Amber Lou is going to transfer here. She's going to say she has cancer. She's going to be beautiful and tragic and sympathetic. And she's going to ask you to donate a kidney. His smile faded. What are you talking about? I know this sounds insane, but I need you to promise me, no matter what, no matter how convincing she is, you will not agree to any medical procedure for her. Can you promise me that? Chloe, are you okay? I grabbed his hand. I'm serious. This is life and death. Promise me. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, I promise. No medical procedures for mysterious transfer students with cancer. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Next, I went to the dean's office, but this time I didn't accuse anyone. Instead, I asked a simple question. What's the protocol for verifying medical documentation for students requesting accommodations? Dean Morrison looked surprised. We require documentation from licensed medical professionals. Why do you ask? I'm doing a research project on academic accommodations. Would it be possible to verify if a doctor is actually licensed and practicing? Of course. State medical boards have public databases. I smiled. Thank you. That's very helpful. I spent the next 2 days researching Dr. Raymond Flores. And there, buried in medical board records, I found it. 3 years ago, he'd been investigated for irregular organ donation procedures. The case had been dismissed due to lack of evidence, but the complaints were public record. I documented everything. When Amber arrived on September the 7th, I was ready. She made her entrance exactly as before. Silk scarf, tragic smile, story about stage 3 lymphoma. Within hours, the sympathy machine started up. Students offered help. Professors offered extensions, and Tyler, my boyfriend, offered comfort. I watched him approach her in the library, his face soft with compassion. In my first life, this was where it started. This was where I lost him. Not this time. I walked over before he could sit down. Tyler, can I talk to you? He looked surprised. Sure, what's up? I pulled him aside. I need you to be careful around Amber. The new girl? Why? Just trust me. Don't get too close. Don't make any promises. And if she asks you for anything medical, money, donations, anything, come to me first. He frowned. That's oddly specific. Please, I can't explain right now, but I will soon. Just trust me. He studied my face, then nodded. Okay, I trust you. Those 3 words nearly broke me. In my first life, he'd stopped trusting me. This time, I wouldn't give him reason to doubt. Over the next week, I watched Amber work her magic. The fundraiser started, the donations poured in. She posted photos in the hospital, carefully angled to show IV bags and medical equipment. But I was watching closer this time, and I noticed things I'd missed before. The hospital photos were all taken in the same room, the same angle, the same medical equipment in the background. She was staging them. I hired a private investigator with my savings. His name was Martin Cross, a retired police detective who specialised in fraud cases. I need you to follow someone, I told him. Document everywhere she goes, everyone she meets, every medical facility she visits. Martin took the case. 2 weeks in, he came back with a report. Your instincts were right. She's not going to chemotherapy. The appointments she lists on social media don't match up with any oncology centre schedules. She's going to a cosmetic clinic in the city. They do IV vitamin therapy, makes you look fresh and glowing. She photographs the IV setup and posts it as chemo. Can you prove it? He handed me a folder. Timestamps, locations, photos. She's never been to University Medical Centre's oncology wing. Not once. I had proof. But I needed more. I needed Dr. Flores. There's more, Martin said. I tracked down 2 of her previous donors. Both died within a month of their procedures. The hospitals listed Dr. Raymond Flores as the attending surgeon in both cases. Where is Dr. Flores now? That's the interesting part. He's not at University Medical Center. He hasn't been on staff there for 6 months. But Amber's medical documents list him as her primary oncologist at that hospital. Forgery. Finally, concrete forgery. I took the evidence to the state medical board, this time not as a hysterical student, but as a concerned citizen reporting fraudulent medical documentation. They opened an investigation. But investigations take time, and Amber was moving fast. She'd already identified David as her perfect donor match. She'd started the friendship campaign, sitting next to him in classes, sharing sob stories about her late mother, who died of cancer, talking about how she wished she could live long enough to make a difference. David, to his credit, remembered his promise, but I could see the guilt eating at him. "She's really sick, Chloe," he said one day. "Maybe I was too quick to promise. Dave, trust me a little longer. Please." He sighed. "Okay, but if you're wrong about this, I'm not wrong." 2 weeks later, the medical board completed their preliminary investigation. Dr. Flores' license was suspended pending a full review. The documents he'd allegedly signed for Amber were confirmed as forgeries. The news broke like a bomb. Amber went into damage control immediately. She posted a tearful video claiming she'd been duped by a corrupt doctor, that she was a victim too, that her real doctors were at a different hospital. Some people believed her, but cracks were forming. Jessica came to me confused. "Is it true about the forged documents?" "Yes." "But she's still sick, right? She has all those photos. Staged all of them." I showed her Martin's investigation report. "She's done this before, at 2 other schools. The donors died. She took the money and moved on." Jessica's face went white. "Oh my God! I need your help. We need to stop her before she hurts anyone else." Jessica nodded slowly. "What do you need me to do?" Together, we started quietly talking to other classmates. Not accusing Amber directly, but asking questions. Had anyone actually gone with her to a treatment? Had anyone verified her medical claims independently? Had anyone noticed inconsistencies? Slowly, people started paying attention. Tyler came to me a week later. "Chloe, Amber asked me to loan her $20,000 for experimental treatment," she said, "but after what you told me, I checked. The treatment center she named doesn't exist. Did you give her the money?" "No, I told her I needed to verify it first." He ran his hand through his hair. "She got really angry, like scary angry. Then she cried and apologized and said the stress of being sick was making her emotional. But something felt off." "That's because she's a con artist, Tyler, and she's dangerous." He looked at me seriously. "What do we do?" "We expose her completely, publicly, so she can't hurt anyone ever again." Act 3. The Revenge. The plan came together over the next 3 weeks. Martin's investigation had uncovered something explosive. Dr. Flores wasn't just forging documents. He was actually harvesting organs from donors and selling them on the black market. The donors died because he was taking more than what was agreed, often taking 2 organs instead of 1, leaving the victims' bodies unable to survive. Amber was his recruiter. She found vulnerable, sympathetic targets, gained their trust, and delivered them to Flores for harvesting. It was a murder operation disguised as charity. But we needed undeniable proof, video, evidence, recordings, something that couldn't be dismissed. I had an idea. "What if we give her what she wants?" I said to our small group, David, Tyler, Jessica, and Martin. "What if David agrees to be a donor?" "Absolutely not," David said immediately. "Hear me out. You agree to the surgery. We document everything, every meeting, every document they give you, every instruction. We wear wires, we record, and when they think they have you, we bring in the FBI. Martin nodded slowly. It could work, but it's dangerous. If Flores suspects anything, he could accelerate the timeline. Then we don't give him reason to suspect. David looked terrified, but determined. If it stops them from killing anyone else... Okay, I'll do it. We spent 2 days preparing. Martin got us recording equipment. Jessica and Tyler would be back up, ready to call authorities at the first sign of danger. I would be monitoring everything from a remote location. David approached Amber the next day. I've been thinking about what you said, about your kidney transplant. I'm a match and I want to help. Amber's eyes lit up. Really? David, that's incredible. You're saving my life. When do we start the process? I'll have my doctor contact you. Oh, David, thank you. Thank you so much. She hugged him, and over her shoulder I could see the cold calculation in her eyes. She thought she'd won. Dr. Flores contacted David within 24 hours. They set up a meeting at a private clinic outside the city. David wore a wire to every appointment. At the first meeting, Flores was all professional charm. This is a beautiful thing you're doing, young man. Kidney donation is very safe, very routine. What's the recovery time? About 6 weeks for full recovery. You'll be able to return to normal activities in a few months. David nodded, playing the eager donor perfectly. And Amber, she'll be okay after this. Flores smiled. She'll have a new lease on life. What he didn't say, Amber didn't need a kidney. She was perfectly healthy. The kidney was already sold to a buyer in Dubai for $250,000. At the second meeting, David signed preliminary paperwork. We photographed every document. At the third meeting, Flores mentioned something interesting. We'll need you to fast for 24 hours before surgery, and I'll need you to take these medications starting a week before... He handed David a bottle of pills. Martin had them analysed. They were immunosuppressants, far stronger than necessary for a simple donation. They were designed to weaken David's entire immune system, making it easier to harvest multiple organs without immediate rejection responses. They were planning to take everything. Kidney, liver, corneas, tissue. They were going to butcher him. We had enough evidence. It was time. The day before the scheduled surgery, we held a press conference. Not at the school. That would have been too easy to dismiss. We held it at the state capitol building with state investigators, medical board officials, and the FBI present. I stood at the podium with David beside me, very much alive and healthy. 3 months ago, in another timeline that most of you won't understand, I watched my best friend die on an operating table. He died because he tried to save someone who was never sick, someone who has been running a murder-for-profit scheme for years, using people's sympathy and generosity as weapons. I displayed the evidence on screens behind me. Photos of Amber at clubs while claiming to be bedridden, financial records showing money laundering, medical board documents proving Dr. Flores' license suspension, recordings of Flores discussing organ sales, and most damning, testimony from Nurse Patricia and families of previous victims. Amber Liu has operated at 3 different universities over the past 4 years. She's stolen over $600,000 in fraudulent fundraising. She's directly contributed to the deaths of 4 people that we know of, donors who trusted her and paid with their lives. Dr. Raymond Flores has been harvesting and selling organs on the black market, using Amber as his recruiter. The room exploded with camera flashes and shouted questions. Behind me, FBI agents displayed arrest warrants. Today, we're putting an end to this. No more victims, no more lies. The FBI arrested Dr. Flores that afternoon. They found him at his private clinic, preparing surgical equipment. In his storage facility, they found medical records for 17 donors, including David's name on a harvest schedule that listed kidney, partial liver, corneas next to a buyer code. He would have taken everything and left David to die. Amber was harder to catch. When news of the press conference broke, she ran. For 3 days, she evaded authorities, posting increasingly desperate videos claiming she was innocent, that she was being framed. Tyler was the one who found her. She'd contacted him, begging for help, asking for money to flee the country. He agreed to meet her, wearing a wire. "Tyler, please, you know me. You know I'm not capable of this. I thought I knew you, but Chloe showed me everything. The fake medical records, the staged photos, the people who died. Chloe's lying. She's always been jealous of me ever since I almost fell for your act." Tyler's voice was hard. "You played me. You played all of us, and people died because of it." Amber's mask finally cracked. "They were just donors. They knew the risks. They didn't know you were going to kill them. They were stupid enough to believe they were heroes. I gave them purpose." The FBI moved in. She was arrested on the spot, her own words condemning her. The trial lasted 3 months. The evidence was overwhelming. Dr. Flores took a plea deal and testified against Amber, detailing the entire operation. She'd been running organ harvesting schemes since she was 19, moving from city to city, school to school, targeting young people with strong altruistic tendencies. She'd made over $2 million. 4 people were confirmed dead. 7 others had suffered severe complications that destroyed their health. Amber Liu was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. Dr. Raymond Flores got 30 years. The families of the previous victims filed wrongful death lawsuits. The universities were forced to overhaul their medical documentation verification processes. New laws were passed requiring independent verification of all organ donation procedures. And me? I stood in the courtroom when the verdict was read, David alive and healthy beside me, Tyler's hand warm in mine, Jessica crying tears of relief behind us. The judge looked directly at me. "Miss Porter, the court recognises that without your persistent investigation and bravery, this criminal operation would have continued on unclaimed lives. On behalf of the victims and their families, thank you." I didn't feel like a hero. I felt tired. But I also felt something I hadn't felt in my first life. Peace. Justice had been served. 6 months later, I stood at David's graduation. He'd gone on to medical school, inspired by his near-death experience to become a surgeon. A real one who saved lives instead of taking them. Jessica had started a non-profit organisation dedicated to verifying charity fundraisers and protecting donors from predatory schemes. Tyler and I were planning a quiet wedding in the fall. And me? I'd become an advocate for donor rights, travelling to universities and telling my story. Not the rebirth part, that was too strange to explain, but the part about vigilance, about questioning even when everyone tells you you're wrong, about trusting your instincts when something feels off. "You saved my life," David told me at the graduation party, pulling me into a hug. "You saved your own life," I said. "You trusted me when no one else did. Because you were telling the truth, even when it was hard, even when it was dangerous." I looked around at the faces of my classmates, all alive, all safe, all aware now of how close they'd come to disaster. In my first life, I died helpless and defeated, watching evil triumph. In this life, I'd won, not just for me, but for everyone Amber would have destroyed. The cancer beauty was gone, the truth had won, and I was finally, truly free.